And we're off. Is that right?
Yeah.
Hey. And we're on. Great. Great. We've just been sitting here moving cameras, focusing cameras. It's all good. Now we're all happy and we're ready to go. So it's Mike again from Wild Community, and the Societal Emergence podcast is what we're calling it at the moment. That may well change in the future. That's kind of like a working name. And I'm here today with the amazing, beautiful Feather, who has a background in community work. She has a background in working with Indigenous mobs in Australia, and who knows, maybe other places. She has an amazing vision for the world called Holacracy, Earth Holacracy, I think. And she has a lot of ceremonial work. So she's an amazing. What word would you describe your ceremonial work, Feather?
It's facilitation.
Facilitation, yeah.
For community activations, light activations.
Yeah.
Oneness, unity, soul connectedness activation.
Yeah. So she's a dear local elder in the Northern Rivers here in New South Wales, Australia. And she's been caring for country and caring for people and community for decades now. But look, I'll let Feather introduce herself and tell us a few things about herself and what we want to talk about today.
All right then. Okay, me. So Feather is what I'm widely known as. I also am known as Catherine Dawn. And that's my nom de plume for my major work, which maybe I'll come to in a moment. So, yes, all the above that Mike sweetly mentioned. Ceremony is really important to me, to be a conscious participant and conscious co-creator and with others, and multiplying the power of your prayers through coming together in numbers to raise the frequency and pump out prayers. So I love that aspect of who I am and what I do. Also, you didn't mention gardener. I'm a very, very keen gardener. And I've been creating an incredible food forest, terracing, making all the terraces myself, and beds and pathways down this slope to a community called Live On Love out of Yukon.
How good is that name though? Completely appropriate, right?
I love living on love. So yeah, it's just so cool. And the grooviest landlord ever, Celestial, like the band Celestial Servant. So anyway, that's been really cool, and I've really created an amazing, abundant food forest, which I'm propagating further afield all around the community and to where I'm living now. So that's the gardener. Dancer, I'm also a dancer. Some people say it's my best gift. We all come with gifts, and I do love the gift of dance because it's a way to make visual the profound sentiments of our love of creation and of each other and existence and everything. It's a beautiful medium for visual expression. Yeah. Okay. So community work, worked for many years on Living Together was the thing I was part of for showcasing local solutions and projects, and that was just amazing because we live in the Northern Rivers region of New South Wales, First Light Country, Evangeline Country, and we have we are in a very illustrious community with incredible solutions and projects and things. So those were always fantastic. Did that for almost a decade. Dudley Leggett and others. So on the coast. And yes, and as you said, worked with Indigenous mob. So been blackup, as Uncle Lewis Walker calls us. The non-Indigenous blackups. And so I've been one of them for as long as I've been in this country, basically, which is about 45 years or so, and from the States, as a young woman. So anyway, and that's just been amazing to work with on all kinds of front lines for justice, for care for country, environmental protection, for cultural preservation, all of these different wonderful issues. So and we will be talking more about that later because I'm just back from the desert gathering.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm really interested to hear about what happened in the desert.
Yes, the Weritin, organized by the OSTF, Original Sovereign Tribal Federation. So yeah, we'll come around to that. And okay, and all of this, enough of me, except for just to say, yes, that I spent a solid 5 or 6 years of my life putting together this 6-volume work, which is all online, freely available. Click, and you've got the download of the PDFs of the 6 volumes of it's called the Earth Holacracy proposal, and it's a proposal to humanity to say, well, how about it, shall we save our Earth and ensure the long-term well-being of our local and global communities. And, so the whole thing of this Earth Holacracy proposal is that it analyzes, using the voices of popular movements worldwide, it analyzes the problem and the solution, and then puts forward best practice ways to and strategies to see about the solution. So the problem basically is centralization. So the solution to virtually all of our problems, and I mean all of our problems, is to decentralize. So the Earthlock's proposal is a proposal for the self-empowerment and self-organization of local communities. Yes?
Love it. Love it.
Yeah. Come together as a people of place and claim the rights of all peoples to make your own decisions. This is about the community making the decisions that impact our lives and then carrying out the implementation of those decisions. So this is a shift from a representational democracy. They don't represent us, so...
They certainly don't.
No. I think they've got other vested interests, and doesn't include the 99%. And so we go, instead of a so-called representational democracy, which is neither, to a participatory democracy. This is where we, the people, really the only hope from all the research I've done and this amazing consensus around the world of people who are analyzed and who are in movements and everything, is that really the only way we're going to come through this while the Earth is here, tottering on the tipping point. We have to acknowledge that, as well as the other.
On lots of tipping points.
So many tipping points. Yes, exactly. It's not just the environment, the whole global life support system, but it's also, just culture, family, humanity, our souls. We're talking about the great turning, as Joanna Macy calls it, this shift from empire to earth community, as David Corton, if you know him, elaborates upon Joanna Macy's phrase there. So it's this paradigm shift from empire, invasion, occupation, destruction, etc., and this totalitarian state, global state that we're all been looking at lately, to the paradigm shift is to the alternative to that, which is with the Earthlock proposal, we're talking about a flip pyramid, local communities on top, claiming their rights as a people to look after their community, their lands, their resources, their assets, look after, so this is the reclaiming of the commons. We've had enough of the tragedy of the commons. They even call it that.
Yes, yeah, they do. Yeah. I love it, reclaiming the commons.
Yeah.
Re-inhabiting the village is a favourite phrase of mine. Right
on, exactly. Yeah, so we can look more into that, the strategies and tools that the Earthlock's proposal offers to achieve these goals. We can always come back to that as curiosity perks. We have two other things that we wanted to talk about in our precious time here today.
Yeah, perfect. And maybe before we start with your wonderful ceremonial aspect, maybe we should start with a bit of a
Oh,
ceremony,
oh, nice.
and
Very
especially
nice.
acknowledging the land that we're on and the tribes that we're on. But
Beautiful.
anything else you might want to
Oh,
we should throw in? What
nice.
do you think?
Very, very nice. You're so good, Mike. Bless you, dear. All right, then. So let's just breathe a moment. Coming into total presence. And presence where we are. As beautiful, my brother, who's also a blackup, says, we start with where we are, and where we are is on original land. Here is a notable land that we are in here in Marne, and we so respect, we hold in such high respect the peoples for whom this is their traditional and ongoing, forever, always was, always will be, original land. And so we pay our respects to the elders, past and present and upcoming, and this incredible lineage they hold, this knowledge that has served the people of this Terra Australis for untold generations, for how to look after the country, maintain absolute abundance, ensure the security and the happiness and the freedom of all beings. It had something really quite going on here for untold generations. So we pay our respect to the peoples and to the spirit of place, to the spirit of country, because it is alive. It breathes, it's conscious. And we open ourselves into this very sacred, pivotal time where we will be moving forward together, holding this eternal prayer of, as I said, they've had here life, liberty, and security for so long. This is still the core necessity for all beings and all life. And so we give thanks and pray that in our momentum, our movement, our activities, and our thoughts and our actions from this moment forward, we and anyone who enjoys this podcast may join us in consecrating ourselves to this most glorious, highest outcome for all. Yoy.
Yoy. Thank you. And that was, I really wanted just to share a tiny taste of the beautiful kind of ceremonial work that you do, and the deep, deep space of connection and caring that you come from when you work in community that I've witnessed many times over the last decade. So thank you for all that work that you do.
Aww.
Truly.
Yeah, right on, brother. Yeah.
And thank you. That was beautiful. So you were just before that. We were talking about two things that we wanted to have a yarn about today. What do you think? What do you want to talk about?
Okay. So we have at least three items that we're both very passionate about, Mike. And so one is working with the Indigenous mob. One is just a general societal emergence, a movement forward for society as a whole, solutions for society, and the Ecovillage movement. So these are three mutually shared, passionate, keen topics, and
100%.
yeah. And,
My favourites.
Right on.
Actually, Sandy,
Yeah.
Would you mind refocusing it on feather? Because somehow the focus has gone back on the back wall. But anyway, keep going
Oh.
while we do that.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So I think I've done enough of the Orthodox proposal. Let's look at. I know you were keen today that we would talk about the recent desert gathering.
Yeah.
So let's just focus on that for a moment.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
And you know, I think you can come back, and we
Yes,
can
that's
anything
right.
we don't get to today, we'll get to another day.
Yeah,
So
right.
that's fine. Yeah. So the desert.
Okay. Are we all good?
Yeah. Just keep going. Keep going. Sandy.
Let me just take that poster down.
Oh, you want to take the poster down? Yeah, let's do that. Okay.
It's actually still in focus. It hasn't moved.
Feather's face is not in focus. No, it's not.
I think
Look at
that's
look at the camera on the wall. Look at the monitor on the wall. I mean. Right, running upgrades to the studio as we go, which is
Oh,
good.
that wasn't one. Okay, whatever. That's good.
It's a bit.
Lovely.
But
Thank
turn
you.
and
dear.
face.
All right, here we go. Are we back on?
Yeah, keep going.
Okay.
Yeah, it's all good.
Thank you, dear.
Yeah, I think you just need to put that box on Feather's face because it keeps focusing where the box is. Thank you.
No, then it'll be on the podcast.
But don't. Keep talking while we're just fiddling with the focus. That's fine. So we were talking about OSTF in the desert.
Yes, so from July,
That's it.
mid-July to end of July, there was a call put out by the OSTF, the original Sovereign Tribal Federation, to inviting everyone to come for a special gathering. The first 5 days or so were allocated to the mob from all over Australia to really get down and conference about this sovereignty business and a united front, a federation, united front of all the original sovereign tribal peoples. And then the last 3 days were for a cultural sharing and collaboration with Blackfellow, Whitefellow. So, okay, so this was this wonderful Interentier Wirichin. Wirichin is a spirit of unity, Blackfellow, Whitefellow unity forward event. And so let's see, I'd say maybe at least 70 original law people and activists came from all over the country.
Yeah.
To
Yeah.
this.
Wow. And they were all elders.
Yeah, lots of elders. Yeah. And so representing many different tribes. So just to back up, the OSTF has been working to build a united platform of original sovereign tribal nations since at least 2010. They've begun, meeting, spreading the word, getting this. So 2022, we've just had this significant gathering of all so many different mobs represented. Outside Alice Springs is where we held this, on Arante country, Mountain Dulia. So they worked so hard. We were just there as non-Indigenous people, we were just there as support backup, doing various things. We'll go into that later. But they really focused solid hours and hours of meetings every day for a number of days to come up with what was shared on the last day, this proclamation of the returning sovereigns. So this is now available from Grandmother Mulara's website, if not elsewhere. And I suppose you can have links below this so that people can read this proclamation that all the mob has agreed to. And basically, they've done their homework for quite some time now, crossed every T and dotted every I to make it absolutely clear in legal terms, internationally legal terms, that the current Australian government is, whatever you call it, corporation, whatever you call it, it has no legitimacy. You know, it's never did the proper channels of declaring war. You know, the original peoples have never made a treaty with this the belligerent occupier. You know, and so they've never ceded their sovereignty. You know, and so this is the thing. They've shown that the Australian government is legally illegitimate, but whereas the sovereign original peoples of this land, original Australians, are legitimately the sovereigns of this country. So they made a statement about that, the Proclamation of the Returning Sovereigns, and you know, they're doing their own things with that, as well as building the movement. It's really important for them. There's still the ongoing work, 12 years down the line of them working, is still to educate their, you know, their own peoples, the original peoples of this land, about what sovereignty means, you know, and because, you know, it's a topic that a lot of us don't fully understand. But sovereign means that nobody outside can tell you what to do economically, politically, environmentally, you know, culturally, you know, yeah, any of these ways. So you are a self-determining people. So so anyway, they're spreading that, they're building that, they've made this proclamation. They had all these different mobs sign it. There are all these different law people. So that's really significant. That was huge.
Yeah, that's massively significant. And just just going back to the proclamation, yeah, we'll put the links below because it is available. Like, I've watched a video of it on YouTube, and I've seen a link to I forget what website it is, but a link to all the words. So
Yes.
we can share with that. And my understanding of, just to summarize what you've said and restate it again, my understanding is that they've basically made a proclamation that they were always the sovereigns. This is what they're claiming. That they were always the sovereigns, that the Australian government, when, you know, Arthur Phillips came here in 1788, he came here illegally, but by coming here, the UK government and him acquiesced to the sovereign, the traditional tribes' laws and customs.
Well, this is what the mob is saying in the proclamation, that
Yeah.
by default, by coming onto our sovereign land, then you were, you know, just by being on our country, you're acquiescing to abide by our laws. So
Yeah.
obviously that's not really what occurred, but this is what the proclamation is saying.
Yeah.
You know, that.
Yeah, that's what the proclamation's claiming. It's the same as you go into someone else's house and you respect the way that they live in their house. They make the rules in their house, right? But of course, that's not what occurred. So they came in and there's been ecocide and genocide and theft of land and all that stuff going on ever since. So the proclamation just says everything that the British and then the Australian governments and then the Australian corporation has done since then is illegal under international law. Like you said, there was no sale of land, there was no treaty signed, and there was no declaration of war. So under international law, the Australian government, the UK government, has no basis to form a country here. That's the legal argument that they're presenting. And right at the end of the proclamation, they've given the Australian government to the end of this year, so September, October, November, December, 4 months, to hand over the government back to them, hand over the country back to the original tribal sovereigns. So that's a massive, it's a massive request and legal document for them standing up for what they believe are their rights and holding the Australian government to account for what they've done.
Yes. Okay, so that's timeline thing. It's I can't speak for the people, but I can understand that, you know, the people that are really feeling like we just can't go on with this system that just keeps rubbing salt into the open wounds of that it just hasn't stopped. If anyone who's had anything to do with justice and the health and well-being of the original population here knows that it's just insanely difficult. And you know, well, we apologize for stealing the children, but the statistics are so many still being stolen until today. And you know, the deaths in custody, the difficulty of making making even lands that they kind of get supposed title back to make them economically viable ventures. And this is all blockages against the original people really standing on their feet again as self-determining people and taking control again of their lives and going forward. And also with the OSTF, this this timeline of, come on, we've got to do something about this and put the running of this country back into legitimate hands that actually cares about all the people. You know, this is about all the people.
And all the beings, not just human-centric, hey?
Yes, beautiful. And so you know, they're, you know, with the moves of the global totalitarian state and all that we've seen in the reduction in human rights and liberties and the whole infringements on that and violations, and you know, what is the next cards that they're going to play for this agenda of the total control, you know, high surveillance state, you know, social what do they call that? Credit system and all of these kind of things. So you know, this is all well documented, you know, this agenda, and the OSTF is trying to come forward and saying, they are saying, we are concerned for the freedom and health and well-being of all of us. We are here, we're inviting the wider community to join us and support us in our claim to legitimate, you know, government power, sovereign power. But we're wanting you to join us, and we're wanting to make as smooth a transition to an ethical system that cares for the land, cares for community, preserves human rights and freedoms, and you know, and it's just in the interest of all. This is, you know, they're not wanting a whole disruption of society. They're wanting to make a smooth transition, but they're just concerned that they've got to act quickly for the earth and for the people. So anyway, that's enough on you know, how the whole story works out and the different tactics they'll come up with. So bless them for building this movement, and I'll just say, it's really exciting that for all of us who have been change agents, for some of us for decades, and you know, to have this legitimate political power and movement that we can align with and work with. So you know, I didn't get a chance out in the desert, crazily enough, because they were working so hard and it was just too intensive for me to speak with one of the major spokespeople that everybody loves of the OSTF, which is Lauren Pa, or David Cole. And so, but I did see him in Yukon the other day, and so he is going to finally look more at the Earth Holacracy proposal and how maybe this movement can really join hands really powerfully, because they, you know, okay, this is the fact, the original Australian population of this land is now 3% of the total population. So clearly, for any meaningful change, you know, this change to an ethics-based, transparent, proper, caring and sharing kind of ethic system, they will, you know, we need all of us to get behind this, and that's what the Holacracy proposal brings in, is a whole tools and strategy for the membership of local communities. And because, you know, also with OSTF is the thing is that each tribe is a sovereign nation, and so with the Holacracy proposal is about that the regional community, which would be, and often just we would go with the borders, obviously the traditional borders of the tribe, as our, you know, as our jurisdictional area of, as communities stand up to self-empower and self-organize. And you know, the proposal is very keen that the, as the OSTF talks about the UN rights of the indigenous peoples, we're also part of the tools in the Holacracy proposal kit is a declaration from the local or regional community saying we want to do all that we can in a way that is beneficial for everyone. We want to do what we can to actually uphold the rights of our local indigenous people. And
At this point I think it's worth, could you talk a little bit about Wirrajin and New Age dreaming? Was that discussed out in the desert? And do you want to share what that is?
Okay.
And, so black and white doing things together, basically.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's basically what we're talking about just before as well, is how Wirrajin is it's a prophecy from I don't know how far back that, you know, that was amongst some of the mob of, I think it was before the invasion, because it said there will be a fair-skinned people coming. There will be a lot of pain and displacement. And then there will come a time, just like in the you know, the Americas with the Children of the Rainbow, what do you call it? The Rainbow Warriors, you know, that prophecy. And the time will come when some of the fair-skinned peoples will want to work not against but with the original peoples, and not against but with the earth and the whole web of life. And so at that time we'll come together as Wirrajin, as one people, black, white, and brindle, everything. You know, it's just all people moving together to create something even more beautiful than what has ever gone before.
Yeah, beautiful. And where does that prophecy come out of?
I thought it was from down south somewhere, you know, when we first heard about this Wirrajin, you know, growing. Some elders down south, and I'm sorry, that is very non-specific.
Yeah. No, that's fine, but just for, for the audience, it's like kind of Southern Australia, came out of somewhere, Southern Australia kind of thing, so it's an Australian Indigenous prophecy. Yeah.
Yes.
It's come out of, just for clarity, it's come out of there, and I hear a lot of the aunties talking about it's, you know, we can't do it alone. You know, neither of us, the settler cultures or the white cultures, you've been calling them, or the Indigenous or black cultures, we can't do it alone anymore. We need to do it hand in hand together. Is the kind of the essence of what I'm hearing? Is that right?
Very much so. Yes, and it makes me, as you say that, it makes me think of you know, David Suzuki and Holly Dressel did this wonderful book, Good News for a Change.
You're right.
How everyday people are helping the planet. And, you know, it was wonderful. He was just so tired of doing bad news. He thought, we're going to do good news. And they were like, okay, we're going to go out there, we're going to find it. And then, of course, there was good news everywhere at all levels, from the very top peak organizations down to the grassroots, and of people that were actively pursuing a sustainable, collaborative, harmonious society. And, you know, and they made beautiful observations from their global journeys of a number of characteristics of this movement of people at all levels for a sustainable, thriving, prosperous, and wonderful future. And one of them was that local solutions were the best, you know, that you needed people that were local, you know, which is what the Holacracy proposal and also tribal sovereignty is about, is that local people have not only the familiarity with their environment and the long-term interests in the long-term well-being of their environment and resources.
True.
Also, they're in the best position to know what works in their area, right? And so, and then Suzuki and Jess will go on to say, and of course, the quintessential locals are the indigenous people.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, and they say that given what a minority indigenous peoples are of the total global demographic, he was saying an amazing amount of the solutions are coming from them. So, Mike, back to what you were saying of we need each other. You know, there's the knowledge bank from the indigenous peoples, First Nations, original peoples, is huge because they've, you know, done it for tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of years.
Yeah.
And really worked it out.
And have you ever seen the documentary called Kanyini?
Oh yes.
Oh my God, so beautiful, so beautiful. And that was all about, he's now passed, but Uncle Bob, who was the custodian of Uluru. And I remember in that documentary, like Kanyini is the Pitjantjatjara word, right, for connectedness, or kind of like their spirituality, but connectedness is the word, I think. And I just remember Uncle Bob saying many times, we've got to do this together. You know, black and white. Now the way forward is for us to do this together. And yeah, clearly there's a lot of healing to be done for the two cultures to come together, and there's a lot of trauma on both sides, a lot of misunderstandings. So many things to correct, but it's already happening.
It is already happening, and you certainly have been one of the people in the forefront of that movement of the hard yakka of coming together from very different cultural backgrounds and coming into often, you know, like we can say from the whole of society, indigenous and non-indigenous, that it's you know, we're at this time in Earth history, we're all pretty much recipients of many generations of trauma. So we're talking about this transgenerational trauma and how much it's you know, it's broken and disabled and dysfunctionalized. That's probably not a word.
We get what you mean, right?
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, so you know, it's we've got a big mission on our plates, but we are up for it. You know, they say you never get more than you can chew, and so everybody, we have to really have faith, strong faith in. Well, I suppose people can have faith in you know, in their humanity or in goodness, or for some of us it would be in the inherent divinity, and you know, and power. You know, certainly original peoples indigenous people will recognize the creator, and it's gone, you know, and of course there's many different faiths amongst the world's peoples, you know, that recognize spirituality as a dimension of our existence. But, you know, this is, for many of us, including myself, that's the wellspring of the power. That's the wellspring, you know, the source and spirit and creator. That's the wellspring of everything good that we can possibly do. And that is an omnipotent power. That is all power. And so we can definitely, and we have the tools, you know, this is the exciting thing that, okay, we're at a very challenging time, this pivotal time, this shift of the ages, the paradigm shift, you know. We have the tools to help people to make the shift from competitive, bullying, distrustful, whatever, that whole thing, to collaborative, trusting, you know, healthy and well, from misery to happiness. You know, we've got this
Yes.
wonderful shift to make.
100% from consumption and competition to creation and collaboration.
Gorgeous.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's the one of the leading edges of human evolution right now, from my perspective. Yeah, if we don't make that shift, then things are going to get tough at best.
Well, yeah, if we didn't meet the challenge of the times, then the world would tip over the tipping point, and then it would be a very slippery slide, you know, to nothingness.
Nothingness. Yeah.
Yeah, it's total devastation, which is
Total devastation.
yeah. And so no, that's not where we want to go, and that's where we're not going to go. We're going to meet this challenge in my humble point of view. Yeah.
Look, I agree. I'm definitely an optimist, and the realist in me is a bit scared. It's a bit like, uh-oh, you know, we're so close, and we can so easily, you know, fall off the edge, and I don't think it'll be one edge. It'll be a series of cliffs that we just keep dropping off as each tipping point, as we encounter each tipping point. Some people say it's too late already. But you know, how do I want to live my life? Well, I want to live my life with joy and happiness, and addressing the issues that we see at hand. And that's for me, that's who we are as humans. We're stewards of this planet, and we're responsible for whatever's going on here at the moment. You know, Tyson Yunker Porter talks about we've got 1,000 years of cleanup to do. That's humanity's job for the next 1,000 years. And let's do it, and let's have fun doing it, and find new ways of being. And if we start cleaning up now, we may well even prevent most of the disaster, if not all of it, if that's possible.
Well, yes. The regenerative capacity of the earth, of nature, is quite incredible. You know, some years ago, a number of scientists tried to encourage the governments of the world to, you know, just lay off 50% of the planet, and nature will take care of itself. Otherwise, we are facing the 6th mass extinction event, right? And so, you know, and of course, the governments of the world are, if you will, they're underneath this, you know, the financier and UN and other, you know, people at the top of the pyramid of domination. And their agenda is, as far as I understand, it's not really a living earth, and it's or conscious, creative human beings. You know, it's the Rudolf Steiner says that, or his organization's followers say that the Ahrimanic societies, the secret societies of the Anglo-American secret societies, their agenda is to turn the earth into a black slag.
Yeah, right, okay. Black slag.
Yeah, like a mining pit, a toxic mining pit.
Yeah.
And humanity into a reduced human population into unconscious automatons. So, you know, so it's, so the governments of the world some of us would say, are underneath that agenda.
Kind of controlled
by that agenda,
yeah.
who own the banks, who pull the purse strings, who etc. So now, are we talking about that? Oh, we're talking about the. Is it too late? Is it all working? Is it going to happen?
Just before we go back to that, I mean, it's really unclear to me, and I may be naive, and as soon as we start talking about what we've just talked about in the last 2 minutes, all the labels of conspiracy theorists come out, and lots of judgment comes out, and it creates a lot of cognitive dissonance as you start looking into these things, of course. And of course, in the past, a lot of conspiracy theories have turned out to be true. So people are starting to use the word conspiracy realists instead of conspiracy theorists, Me personally, I have no idea. Like, you know, I really don't know enough about whether there is a secret cabal organising all this, or whether it just is the result that we're getting is an emergent property of a system that has been designed incorrectly. You know, the system of society and governance we live on is based on infinite growth on a finite planet. It's based on competition, and it's based on a number of other things that are just simply principles that are not harmonic or aligned with how nature actually works. And of course, you know, some humans are really smart and they're going to take advantage of it. So whether it's an emergent property or whether it's a designed design process by the few, I really don't know. But what is real is the results. You know, no one can argue with where we're at the moment, which is when I look at it, you know, I can find it quite terrifying. I can find it quite depressing, and if I look at it too much, I go into massive amount of eco grief, and not just eco grief, but whatever, life grief. So I don't look at it too closely too often because it normally takes me, you know, weeks to pull myself out of the emotional process of actually looking at the state of the world and the existential risks that we're facing and how we treat nature and how we treat each other on this planet at this point in time. You know, it's truly shocking. And we need to fix it. So I think that no one can argue with that. Yeah, that's what I've dedicated my life to anyway, fixing it. Yeah, but back to what you were saying, those tipping points that we're facing and
Yes, all right. But if I may just comment too on
oh, we've
what
lost
you
the
just
camera. We've lost the camera. Hold on. We're going to flip over to me while our magic elf Sandy, whose studio we're in now. This is Sandy's music studio. It's such a great studio, and we're so grateful to Sandy for allowing us to use this space.
100%.
Thanks, mate. We're not back on yet with that camera, but we will be. And while we're taking this little intermission here, there was something I wanted to share before. That, you know, we're in the middle of this industrial centre here in Mullumbimby, and there's a guy that makes drums over the road. So he's bashing on the drums all day to make sure that they're tuned or whatever. And I noticed that when your ceremonial piece started, the drums stopped, and then when your ceremony finished, about a minute later the drums started. So, you know, it's just another, you know, recognition about how the universe kind of works.
Beautiful. This great kanyini, the connectedness.
The great connectedness.
Yes, fantastic. It's just in my heart and soul to share, and hopefully this is useful for any potential future listeners as well, is that, you know, if we want to be present with our planet and its process and what's going on this world stage, that we can do that even at this very confronting time where so much is so, you know, it appears to be so monstrously evil because it's so destructive, you know, as you said, genocide, war, and so, but I wanted to share my technique because I want to be present with my world. I want to be somewhat informed, and I spend all my time looking at that because I'm more like you, Mike. We're interested in being part of the solution. We're culture creatives, and so we're doing that. And also to you know, be aware, I just made a consecration in my being that if I do cast my gaze upon this, excuse me if I might call it the false matrix, but because I believe it's none of this you know, main system with its, you know, what is it? You know, it's empire building, it's invasion and occupation, and it's wars, and it's everything that we know. There's environmental destruction, etc., human rights destruction, everything. That this it's not based on the authentic human or authentic human values. What defines us as human? You know, I think that the core need of human beings is, you know, is to be happy and to feel good about ourselves. And to do that, to feel good about ourselves, basically we all need to be meaningfully contributing to the well-being, current and future well-being of our community and our lands and things.
Yep.
So it's really simple, basic stuff that really define in a very natural way what it is to be an authentic human being. So anyway, so I might call all this thing the false matrix. Now I'll get back to what I was saying. So if I'm looking at, as you're saying, the outcomes, the outplay of this misdirection of humanity in all industries and knowledge and fronts, you know, it's just been a misdirection of human resource, intelligence, etc. If I look at that, then I look with this laser beam coming from my soul out through my eyes and my mind that actually disintegrates its power. You got it.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Yeah, so that instead of my interfacing, choosing to give my awareness to what is going on in this false outplay, it's not going to bring me down, oppress me, lower my vitality energies or my spiritual robustness or anything, because my very act of looking at it is actually, because through my consecration, my sovereign choice of what I do with my mind and energy and spirit, I've chosen that my looking at it is disintegrating its base.
Yeah, wow, powerful.
Yeah. So it can't hurt me. I'm definitely pulling the carpet down from under it.
It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Beautiful.
yeah, good. So that's a nice thing, because we you know, we are present and we do really care. And bless you and bless everyone who, you know, keeps their life force and their energies focused on the great work that we have, which is to create the, you know, I would say decentralized, you know, locally self-reliant, you know, food self-reliant, energy reliant, you know, communities.
So is that the second thing you want to talk about?
The Ecovillage.
Well, I don't know. Yeah, Ecovillage.
Let's
or
go right
Holacracy.
into that.
Let's go into that. But before we do, can I just ask you, because you talked about, you know, we've talked about what happened in the desert and OSTF and the Proclamation, but I don't want to skip over the fact that you jumped on a bus with a bunch of local elders and whitefellas and drove out to the desert and spent, I don't know, 10 days in the desert, and then drove back another 36 hours or however long the drive is. And that must have been quite a phenomenal experience. Like, what was it for you? What was it like for you to be in the desert with all that energy and the elders and the desert, and yeah, what was it like?
Thank you. Lovely. So lovely. So just breathe with me again for a moment. And just journey with me over the Great Dividing Range. Then moving in towards the red center. Arriving in Aranda country. Making camp with all these traditional law people from all over, and other good people, you know, the earth tribe people that work with and care with the Indigenous First Nations people here, and just be there, oh my God, be there with me under that great dome Tourmalini red earth. And listen, hear well, first of all, see the blazing stars. Oh my God, I thought where I live out in the country, here we saw stars.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Woo! Magnificent, brilliant, brilliant starry nights. And then here with me the old men, old lawmen with their clapsticks and chanting. And then see beautiful Lurnpa, this most magnificent spokesperson for OSTF, come and talk with everybody and with all the love and warmth of this being with his huge smile and in this spirit of Virgin, of all of us together so magnificently. And yeah, you'll start to get something of the feel there. So what was it like? Yeah, it was just so amazing. And sometimes I must say on the coast I'm not I'm up and off into the gardens rather than doing my meditation. But there in the country, under that dome of sky on that red earth, you're like, I might just do an hour's meditation to start the day, you know, because you're just there in absolute power. So that's brilliant. And, you know, they made a corroboree ground. We had a few dances there. The Proclamation of Returning Sovereigns was shared there on this powerful corroboree ground that, you know, one time when we were there, I was like, whoa, yeah, this is like, I really feel the spirit of country or the spirit of place. It's like, I feel like the air itself is this living, pulsing, breathing sentience. And it's like being in the lung of a creature or something like that, you know? So alive and brilliant. And oh God, we had a clapstick making workshop for the women once, and we didn't have enough wood or tools, and so I got to just sit there with my eyes closed and just listen to the women's voices and the tools, and just tune in and feel that gorgeous spirit of collective endeavor that so characterized the original civilization of this land, where the women did a lot of the work, and so the women would go out together and plant or harvest or cultivate or fish or dive for the abalones if they were there, or build the homes. You know, they did a lot of things, but it was collaborative, or grind the seeds with a grinding stone for the evening flatbread. You know, they would all three, when they built to 300, all the women would be there before sunset, all of them doing it together.
Wow.
Yeah. And so it was this thing of a circadian rhythm, a collective rhythmic life of genuinely harmonic, synchronic living. So yeah, that was a high point for me, okay? So there were things like that in the cultural sharing. And, you know, the invitation was to go deeper, because what we're talking about with the white and black, with the Wirechin coming together and moving forward together, that we have to make those links, which you know well, Mike, those links of mutual understanding. And we do well, you know, the non-Indigenous people who've kind of been ripped out of our cultural roots, many of us. And so this is to become, again, you know, a proper cultural person who, you know, is a lot of it is just about natural, basic human mores, you know, of respect and sensitivity and, you know, kindness, lovely. So, you know, so all of that. And if I could just share one other, I want to sing up the non-Indigenous backups, which out there at the gathering, the mob agreed that they liked Uncle Lewis Walker's term for the non-Indigenous backups,
Yeah, right.
blackups.
Blackups, yes,
Yeah.
great. I love the way he does that. Blackups, yeah, it's good.
Well, Uncle Lewis is an amazing language culture generator. And so he calls the kids the today of tomorrow, the jajam, yeah. And yeah, it has other, it's great language. But so they all adopted that. They liked that. Instead of us calling us non-originals or non-indigenous, we're blackups, So we are there in support of this, and yeah, we're being in ourselves too. So I wanted to, sing up the blackups because we're amazing. We're powerful. We're incredible. We had people like Binna and Justin and other crew that were just working, like running to help make it all smooth and everything catered for and then all the needs met. And then Rose was the queen of the kitchen that put out 3 amazing meals a day.
Yeah, wow, it's always a big job kitchen, hey.
It was an incredible kitchen that put out, because the original moms that were coming from all over the countryside were said, we will provide food for you when you get here. And so, and there was it was amazing, deer and roux and other, and vegetarian and everything was there, like magnificent. So bless the blackups, we're incredible. And if I can, I'll share one other special moment.
Yeah, please do.
Okay, so Uncle Frank is the senior lawman of the Mount Undulia site where we were in this Arna country. And so he spoke with us a few times. And at one of those times, I didn't even realize, like at the moment, but later realized, oh my God, Uncle Frank has given us an initiation into a degree of self-mastery.
Yeah, right.
And his mantra for this was simply, it's just a thought. It's just a thought. So you can get all wound up and think all these negative thoughts, all manner of negative thoughts, or you can choose to think in a positive way. It's just a thought. So he, in a very simple way, he took the power out of that kind of just going along and well, look, I'll tell how I realized and how I applied it, and that might best convey.
Yeah, great.
Okay.
Perfect.
So we're all done and we're on our way home, and I'm going back in the car with Auntie Lois Kay and her nephew and niece, daughter, and it's my turn to drive, and I'm like, oh my God, this is so boring. Just focusing on keeping this car in my side of the lane, and oh my God, 100 kilometers an hour feels like stasis. I feel like I'm not moving at all. And oh Lord Almighty, the kilometers pass excruciatingly slowly.
Long straight roads
Oh,
in the desert.
yeah.
Oh.
And so I'm like, oh, and then I hear Uncle Frank's voice. It's just a thought. And I'm like, oh, okay, let's see. I might just customize this little teaching from him. And so it's like, I'm happily, doing my part of driving. I'm happily making progress towards our destination. And lo and behold, all of a sudden, from it being this tormenting, really uncomfortable, situation, it's totally cool.
Totally cool.
It's 100% fine.
Nice.
It's just a thought. And so he's, So in my terminology, it's like we can get in a rut of egoic preferences that we are all justified in separating ourselves from the isness of whatever's going on and being all comfortable with the isness, like as if I can stand aside from the whole field.
Yes, that's right. The isness is our business. Yes.
Yeah, and just enter it, and it's just a thought. I can, like they say, like Milton's Paradise. You can make a heaven of hell or a hell of heaven. It's the same teaching again.
Yeah.
But anyway, thank you, Uncle Frank. I will do my best to carry forward this initiation into self-mastery.
Yeah, what a wonderful gift. And the ripples of that gift are spreading out as you across this podcast and as you share this with other people and they share it with more people.
Indeed. Yes, indeed. I find I'm sharing it with quite a few people because we all, that's part of the essence of our growth into wellness and wholeness and liberation is to, is just to become a truly free being, and that means freeing ourselves from all those silly old, thoughts and patterns, many of them just ego-based, separation-based, kind of things where we're justifying being in a negative emotional mental state, when really it's just a thought. So good. Yes. So there's my Wirechin report. Oh, actually.
Yep. Yeah, go for it.
Okay, ready?
Yeah.
So, okay, and they did have us in,
You're so tuned in to what's going on. Feather's now got to the point where she's watching me flip between cameras and I'm waiting to talk before I flip between the cameras. It's so good. All right,
Yeah.
ready, set, go.
All right, we're off. Because I have to mention that in the spirit of Wirechin, we were invited because they made a proclamation of the returning sovereigns that they had worked on so hard to have that agreement, and all of them signed it. It's a very beautiful ceremony.
Yeah.
And, we had the invitation to create a statement of solidarity and support.
Beautiful.
So I was involved in that. Managed to get into the final product because there was quite a few ideas of how we would phrase that, but I managed to get in a word about we will support that with this furthering the self-empowerment and self-organization of local communities.
Beautiful, snuck that in, which is great. Well, and it's completely aligned with culture anyway.
Well,
so,
yeah,
it's not didn't need to be snuck in. It should have been front and center. And so go on.
Oh, well, just, it is exactly in line because it's always emphasized each tribal nation is a sovereign nation, so it is about the peoples, the whole community of each sovereign tribal territory to come together and work together as a sovereign peoples.
Yeah, 100%. Beautiful. So what's happening with what's it called? A statement of support or something? Where's that at? What's happening with it? Is it going to be released or what's going on?
I don't
Yes.
know. Finally,
Okay,
seems to be some hold up on the OSTF website, but because it's only on Grandmother Malara, another senior law woman who was there. She's got the proclamation up on her site, but I haven't seen any publishing yet of the supporting statement.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, no, that'll come out in natural timing, and we'll put the links to the YouTube links to the proclamation, and it's such a beautiful video to watch. It's only 15 minutes, but the first half is in language, with 30 or 40 of the elders present, and then the second half is in the statement in English, which is great. And then there's actually did you listen to the poem from Uncle Wes? So I think I did send you amongst those 3 links one of the links, and this is just, I suspect it's synchronistically, I don't think this was planned, but Uncle Wes is an elder, 100 years old, and last week on his 100th birthday he published a book of 100 poems. And he read one of the poems with Stan Grant on Q&A on TV last week. And so I've sent you the link to that. It's really worth listening to. It's beautiful, and it kind of embodies the energy of the proclamation. And in one of the lines it says, "This year is our year." So I just found listening to the two of them straight after each other really, really potent. Really beautiful.
Beautiful.
Nice. So, right, that's your amazing journey into the desert. So Ecovillages. Yeah. Talk to me. What do you want to say? What's up with Ecovillages? Where do we start?
Well, I've latched myself on with your project that you've been furthering for so long, Mike. This wonderful wild community. And to support, yes, did you want to talk about that?
No, keep going.
Okay, so because that's to give the all-round support for startups, etc., and to really help to support a movement of the creation of viable eco-villages, right?
Yeah.
And so this is something that has long been very close to my heart. I've lived on many intentional communities, land-based communities, and some of them have been really fantastic, definitely fantastic experiences, but there aren't that many that are truly collaborative communities, and there aren't that, I lived at Tannable Falls, and that's basically a village size community, enough of a population, we could call it a village, with its shop and hall and school and different things all going on so beautifully.
What kind of population is there?
I don't know how many hundreds.
But a few hundred, 300,
yes,
400.
Yeah,
Wow.
Yeah. So, Ecovillages. Well, okay, this is like a change channel now a little bit, although it's all related to the same thing. It's about like the original Australian ethic is caring and sharing, and the ideal is to care for country, care for the environment, care for the community, care for our own, actually going back to the kanyini, that connectedness that Uncle Bob Randall talked about. It was, there's 4 ways that, if I may just come around this, from this angle, 4 ways that each being may know themselves, and that is in relation with everyone else in the great connectedness, right? And specifically they point to 4 things that for the being to be self-realized and actualized, there's 4 areas of where each being has this connection, and they say that the connection is one of love and responsibility. That's the modus operandi, is love and responsibility, and it's towards Mura, the land, Wata, community, Karumpa, the soul, and Chukarpa, the teachings, the knowledge system, belief system. So to be a self-realized being, you have to have all of this together. And so, this eco-village does very much tie in, because we're talking about creating viable, land-based, but larger spaces, large space where hundreds, 100 to 300 to more people can live together in a collaborative framework as a full village with all their needs met within that village, and everyone within walking or riding or bicycling distance, and so this is the blueprint for this idyllic, paradisical future that we are moving towards, where for me the issue is very much about the people who live there being just like we're talking about the regional community having being self-empowered to make the decisions, the informed decisions that impact their lives. Also with Earth Holacracy, it's about holons, so it's units within units within units, circles within circles. So you've got, we have planet, down, you've got the region, the tribal sovereign region, and then with that you've got the smaller sovereign units, the holons of eco-villages, and where you have, everything, your schools and your shops and your libraries and your everything. You're a self-sufficient little village, but that can trade, etc. with others. But the idea is just to move away from, cars and transport and all those things, and just relocalize really fundamentally and know your people and live an interconnected, harmonious and beautiful life where we're in touch with everything that is our material culture and needs and everything. And so this is about a healthy, fulfilling, meaningful life where everyone has an acknowledged place and role. And we just live
Beautiful.
in paradise, as Suzuki, if I can refer to him again, they're, it's like nature and humanity together is a win-win,
Yeah. And it's a misconception to separate humanity from nature anyway. And it's a win. And humanity is an integral part of nature, and it's the comments that are going around at the moment to say, well, let's block off swathes of land and not let humans go there. That's a misunderstanding about nature as well, because humans have always been since we've been around, have been an integral part of caring and sharing and the evolution and growth and the health of that environment, even if it's just us weeing against trees and sharing that nitrogen and sharing those nutrients. And when our bodies go back to the soil, back to the clay, creating this separation makes no sense to me anyway.
Thank you for raising this point. This is a really, a point very close to my heart.
Yeah.
It's human beings are written in to the not only the physical material ecology, but the spiritual ecology of place, of the environment. And
We're all back.
we're all back. And so it's a really fundamental role that human beings have. The anthropologists call it rights of increase, when tribal peoples all over the world would do things for the continued health and well-being and generation of the plants and animals and community and everything. This is practiced by indigenous peoples all over the world, because they understand that this amazing, abundant, healthy, gorgeous, beautiful life in the magnificence of a natural creation is it's a multidimensional event, where it's a spiritual, it's an energetic, it's a electromagnetic, even the scientists know that from the cells, from the DNA in every living cell in plants and animals, there's this constant projection of photons, of like biophotons,
Right.
This is quanta of information energy coming out like light codes, if you will, in this sea of communication and information. We are electromagnetic, we are bioelectric beings, and we're living in this whole communication field. I mean, that's just talking about, in the physical way of this subtlety of what's going on in intercommunication, in this communion, this connectedness. But anyway, if you study indigenous people, and especially, other places as well, but I've looked I've been in Australia for 45 years, so I've been really deep into original culture here. And there's it is an electromagnetic spiritual connection when you have something is your totem, if it's a place or an animal or a plant. It's a spiritual connection that feeds both partners. It's very sacred, energetic. So anyway, I really got off on this, but to take human beings out of a place, call it a wilderness area, and take human beings out of the formula is an absolute ignorance of the way that the world works and the way it designs. And
Shouldn't be done. Shouldn't be done, I agree. And look, hey, I've got to ask you, you keep saying beings as opposed to beings. So you're really emphasizing or adding in a syllable or something. I'm really curious. There's a reason for it. What's going on there?
Oh, okay. Would I talk about human beings or any beings?
Beings.
Okay. It must be subliminally. I'm emphasizing this vitality and like Uncle Lewis says, this live and directness of being. It is about being present. It is about being whole, complete. We're just, there's the thing about the false culture, the false matrix that is disconnected so many things. It's even disconnected people's mind and heart and soul and spirit and to the earth and to each other. It's just crazy. The divide and conquer is a ethos of this, the totalitarian peoples that goes. You can't believe how far it goes. Dividing members of family, dividing people from their own selves, from their conscience, and from So this is about again becoming whole beings, where we function holistically with the mind and the heart and the soul and the spirit and the energy and the body and everything working in its whole collective wisdom of each level of being has its own, like we talked about the wisdom body of the physical body. We know what is healthy to eat, etc. Everything has its own wisdom. So this is about returning to that great state. And then from a holistic, in this whole line, my individual, your individual, then it's the two of us together, then it's the community, and then it's also with all of creation, and it's on all levels, spirit, mind, soul. So be.
I love it. So good. I love it, and it does emphasize, it does create that emphasis. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
So, villages. So just circling back to villages and how this all comes together.
Okay, so let's see. Now alright, so I'm 65, and so I've lived on lots of community. I've seen a lot of things go well and a lot of things go awry, and as all of us have who've been in the game for a while. And like even when I was a young maiden, the idea was, small is beautiful. Live simply so that others may simply live. And, back to the land. And, all of these things that moved us to go into this experiment of returning to the earth and living together in creation. And we've seen we've seen that there's an art to it. And to making our aspirations realizable and to give traction and longevity to our projects. And so, Mike, I think that's one, to speak about Ecovillages, that's one of the areas that I'm very keen on and involved in, and what I bring through our project of the wild community, and also just generally, is how to create that solid foundation for harmony, longevity, and efficiency, you know, criticalness. So, and this is also ties in with the organizational model that I put forward in the Earth Holacracy proposal, which we can give the link to that at the bottom as well. So the idea, what to bring to Ecovillage startups, and even ones that are trying to go but still kind of floundering, or just needing clarification of the next step, is a whole suite of founding documents that will serve you well to protect the integrity of the core vision of the founding members, and to let anyone else, you know, who's looking at it understand what am I getting into here, and is that really my thing?
Yeah.
And if so, I can get involved, and if not, then I won't. You know, so it's about this shift is from opacity. You know, this system works on being opaque, and you can't see, you don't know who's going on, making decisions. And our thing is about transparency and being explicit, making everything very, very clear.
Yeah.
So we all know where we stand, we
Yeah.
all know what's going on, etc. And then that's the foundation for ease in collaborative furthering of projects, because you've already laid the foundations, you know you're on the same page. So, okay, so the founding documents for Ecovillage, or for any collaborative endeavor that I recommend with the Holacratic organization, circular organization, is, okay, so let's just start with core values and ethical guidelines. So let's start at the heart of what really defines us, who we are, and our passion. And also, let's just really, you know, love, peace, freedom, that's all very nice, but what does it look like?
Yeah, right, cool.
So that's your ethical guidelines, to really, so that it's not ambiguous. We're trying to make this very explicit, so we can really see, are we solid together? Okay, core values, ethical guidelines, that's one. Then, of course, you know, like any group, they say, we do our vision, mission, and objectives.
Right.
So you just make that all very clear. And then these, once you've done these, they can be living documents that can evolve and grow. People, you know, each group can make their own things for the process for, you know, the annual review, and how much it can evolve, or how much it has to stay within you know, this is the central vision that has to hold to, otherwise it's not it anymore, right? So okay, so so we have that defined, and then, you know, also for, you know, communities or any other groups, it can be good, well, we need to have social protocols, right? And what we do about breach of protocols.
What do you mean by social protocols in this case?
Okay, so we, everything that each being needs to feel happy, safe, and respected in that collaborative environment, right? And so this, I include in my organizational model, suggest that people go through the process of making this blueprint of we for the interpersonal relations.
Yeah, powerful work, that one. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so it has, that blueprint of we has gone all around the world, and people call it an idea whose time has come, and it's working with making the interpersonal dynamics transparent and explicit, so that we can all function in this heightened mutual awareness. And what they find is that when people put everything transparently on the table, it's like, man, I'm just coming out of a highly competitive system. You know, I've been raised on distrust and bullying and control. You know, but I'm really keen to, to get over these these ingrained patterns and, and work collaboratively and harmoniously and in an egalitarian way with everyone here.
Yeah.
And so, but anyway, we just, no blame, no shame. You know, we're all coming out of this, the old system. We're all embodying the shift. And so we can all just lay everything on the table, whatever it is. Or, oh, I get uptight if somebody's tapping their hands, on the table or whatever, We just, anything, because we're trying to create a harmonious, safe, happy space where everybody can function well. And so we need to understand each other and our triggers and how we support people, can best support people if they're being triggered, to de-escalate. And, these are just skills. But I found that what the movement, the Blueprint of We has found is that once we actually name things, actually taken away a lot of the power of stuff.
Yeah.
Because everyone, including the person themselves, are aware, oh, that's that pattern. I don't know, that's not what we're doing here, and you move on. And so it's engaging at a profound level of collective societal development.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's really important.
That's really important.
It's so important because we want it. Yeah. And and then also we have a induction process, that can be very good to specify, especially if you're an eco-village on the land. Then, what is the induction process? Oh, they read through all of our core documents, they see if they agree with them, and that they want to abide by the protocols, and they understand the breaches, what happens with breaches of protocol. We're here to support everybody's evolution and personal development, but also if they're not making the effort or something, then, maybe 3 mess ups and you're out, or whatever.
Yeah, whatever that process is, and it's a process of restorative justice and a process of education at the same time. But at some point there's a limit. Yeah, where the community can't hold that dysfunctional energy or that unharmonic energy or whatever, and then people may need to be asked to leave, or alternative arrangements made, that hopefully is in the best interest of the person, in question. Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful, Mike. It's we're wanting. Ultimately, we want to take everybody with us.
Yeah.
And we're very, very keen for. I sometimes call them all the prodigal children to come home. And, and because we've wandered far.
What does prodigal mean?
Oh, I think they've wandered, but also is it that
prodigal.
You've...
That's the metaphor, I think, from the Bible, right?
It's from the Bible. It's from the Bible. From maybe debauched or wasteful use.
Yeah, I'm just wondering what the word prodigal means.
Yeah. Doesn't just mean that you've gone far away, but that you've been...
Well, prodigal, right? Prodigal.
Yes.
Spending money or using resources recklessly.
Right. That's what
so, so I'm just looking up here. Reckless, extravagant. The person who leaves home to lead a prodigal life but later makes a repentant return.
Okay. Right, that's the prodigal child. So from a wastrel, lost out in the wilderness of a system that has misdirected human knowledge, research, endeavor, and enterprise, to come home to a transparent, ethics-based society, and really, the invitation is from the restorative practice movement. They use another biblical term, maybe redemption, but I like it because they talk about the opportunity for each individual to redeem themselves in their own eyes, in the eyes of their family and their community. Yeah.
Yeah.
And a beautiful thing. This is really an invitation for everyone to take their knowledge, assets, resources, skills, power, whatever position, and remove all that each being has, their skill base and knowledge base, and bring it into the ethics base, transparent community and environment and life supporting activities. And so this is to go from a broken society to a healthy and healing society. And so this is a really beautiful invitation to all beings. We wish to come along. Okay, so we were talking about with each project, as we are the fledglings that are at the forefront of this movement of returning to proper villages again, that we have to protect the integrity of that village. We will throw every tool we've got to individuals who are willing to try to make the shift in their own beings. Because that's what it comes down to. Each individual person must be the embodiment of the change.
Yeah, 100%. It's a psycho-spiritual growth exercise to come from consumptive, destructive living back to, harmonic, creative living, from suburban lifestyle to connectedness with nature lifestyle. And it's a big journey, because, some of us have journeyed down that road so far, not completely, but it's a big, massive journey, and it requires a lot of shifts. And that's what the word, I was just looking up the definition of the word redemption, right? Which, biblically it's like someone to return from evil or from sin back to wholeness, or to return from error. It can be an error. We could say our lifestyle is an error when we just start destroying the home we live in. That's a little bit of an error, right? But when we return from an erroneous way of living back to a true way of living in harmony with nature, and that's a big learning exercise for everyone, letting go, or relearning. And when you say about protecting the integrity of the village, I see that as protecting the integrity of nature, because the village is just a part of nature, right? So when we create villages properly, they are regenerating nature, they're caring for nature, they're living in harmony with nature. So when we're protecting the village, we're protecting harmonious ways of living with nature, we're protecting nature. So, as Uncle Lewis says again, the Urubal Gully Meragingi kind of statement, it's like to turn that one being around, so come back into Vologaman, come back into oneness and harmony, where we're caring and sharing and growing together. And, when we're growing and learning, we make mistakes. So there's always a second chance. There's always a second chance. One of my favourite sayings is every saint has a past and every sinner has a future. So
Nice.
We care and share, and we grow together and help each other and live, evolve, and live the life of our dreams. That's the core focus of eco-villages, or harmonic ways of living, restorative, regenerative ways of living, to me. And of course it's human and non-human, caring and sharing together.
So beautiful, Mike. Absolutely. Yeah, it's would you say some elder had said we've got 1,000 years of earth repair to do. So we have I don't know if how long it takes to really get the world back to some kind of former glory again. That will take hundreds of years at least to get some of our back to having more patches of old growth forest and viable expanses of land for plant animals and everything.
Yeah.
They say they need 20,000 hectares or something as a viable area for for some species. So that's why the corridors and all of that is very important.
Yeah.
Making So yeah, it's it's a and the restoration of the natural environment, and also the whole generation of a new phase of global society. It's really quite exciting. I feel confident that once humanity is liberated from the this misdirection, very small handfuls, as the Occupy movement said, and some say 1% is an overestimate of how many people are actually, devastating this planet and its peoples. It's more like 0.001% of the population that is making these bad decisions, impacting all of us. So I think that 99.99% of us could, possibly have the power and the numbers to turn this world around into something that is more life supporting and supporting, again, the happiness, health, and well-being of all.
Yeah, completely. And for those that want to make the change, I see Ecovillages as a tool for focalizing that change and fast-tracking that journey back to harmonic, connected living, essentially. That's the power of them.
Absolutely.
Tool for evolution, really.
Well, that's right. The change is a real thing. It's a lifestyle. It's a matter of lifestyle. And so I don't know what they're doing in dense, polluted, high-rise, screaming cars and noise and sirens. Like, is that a death style?
Yeah, right.
But an original lawman from North Queensland, in his oral history that he carries of his people in North Queensland, he says that it was 30,000 years ago that the death cult came to our planet.
Right.
Yeah. And so some would say, they've come a long way since they first arrived. Now they're kind of running the show. And but we're still here. And as the original people said, at the 200-year, the bicentenary, we have survived. And all of us have survived. And our spirit has survived. And as much as, can try to get us off track through all kinds of dysfunctions in the family and wrong ideas in the schools and the medias and everything else. Actually, I think part of what this whole adventure we are in right now, at this climactic chapter of this, or stage of this great epic story, is to prove that the invincibility of the spirit. I think that will be one of the real big things, is that, you thought that you broke us and crushed us and distorted us and disempowered us, and actually here we are, the invincible, untarnishable gold of spirit.
Yeah.
And
That just really makes me want to share this poem by Uncle Wes. It's like 2.5 minutes with this clip with Stan Grant. So can I play it? I wonder how we can do this cleverly so that let's put it on you. And let's go like this. Whoa.
And right up
Let's
there.
go like that. Oh no, it's going off. Alright, let's play it.
Uncle Wes Marne. Now, Uncle Wes, at 100 years of age, has just published his first book of poetry. Uncle Wes, how are you? I was given the honour of being there to launch that book. It was a really special day, Uncle. Now, you're going to leave us with
exactly. It's, as you know yourself, Mike, from your deep involvement, it's a very rewarding journey to stand beside the First Nations people of this land and any land, which I just got to, yeah, almost as long as I've been in this country, I've been a blackup, and it's just been an honor and a deeply moving and deeply enriching journey all the way. And it is a living culture with such profound depths. I mean, these people are culturally, the history is through initiations to spiritual adepthood, and like out in the desert in the past doing Inma, the corroboree in the central desert, and I'm just like, oh, I can feel it, I get it. I'm just like a little event inside of the open minds of these people here. Yeah, you just can feel the vast open space of their consciousness. It is a culture deeply rooted into the unity of all things. As the Buddhists talk about the illusion of separate self-existence. Well, that illusion wasn't endemic here. That wasn't. It was. Unity. The connectedness is a living, breathing, actual experience of open consciousness. Amazing. Yeah, and then the depths that come from a place that is so clear and unified with universal and natural law. So you're in a harmonic with the great, powerful generation of this universe and its laws by which it creates planets full of climax ecosystems, and it's just this, as one of my favorite physicists, Paul Davies, Australian physicist, says, this too good to be true universe, astronomically improbable, and so here it is, this the peoples of the world, the original peoples, understood the cosmic and natural laws by which this is the physics of existence, how it happens in this great, beautiful connectedness and intricate fine tuning. It is so fine tuned. It's just amazing. Watch any nature documentary that goes a bit deep into the connectedness of things, salmon crossing the ocean and the bear coming out of hibernation and the this and the, and the drops of water coming down from the river, but just everything with this, it goes on and on. The sandstorms across Africa that go over the ocean and then land on South America and feed the krill, and it's like this vast, great connectedness that based on this natural and cosmic laws that we are to understand and abide by. So that's the beautiful thing about, one of the beautiful things of working with Aboriginal people.
And that might be a good point for us to wrap up today.
Okay.
Like, I feel like, the energy here is amazing. We can just go on for the next 24 hours. But there's the rest of the universe calls.
Yeah, that's really great. We did it, and we did okay.
We did really well.
Yeah.
Good. We did really well.
Okay.
And we can have more yarns and record more yarns. I really look forward to it. That was a great chat. And let's dive deeper into Ecovillages and into Holacracy and in the future.
Good. Fantastic.
Do you want to close with anything or anything to say? Final words?
Well, thank you, Mike, for having me in here to this beautifully named YouTube channel, Societal Emergence. And yes, we love to stand with the many millions of us who are culture creators at this time forging a way forward that is authentic to our core humanity, and to our core humanity is also what we know is right. And I know we're closing up, but just if I can say, you know, like many of us and many of the real democracy movements of the world acknowledge that the United Nations is an instrument of the, you know, global totalitarian state. And, you know, one of my heroes, Dennis Halliday, resigned his 34-year career high up in the UN after finally getting out of the ivory tower, going on the ground in Iraq and seeing, oh my God, we're the cause of the genocide of 1 million men, women, and children in Iraq.
Right.
Yeah? And so he resigned to speak out. And so anyway, we know that, as he said in his resignation, the human rights record of the UN is abysmal.
Right.
Okay. So we're not being an advocate of the UN, but there have been authentic good people involved at various stages, and even now there would be some still trying to work through that.
Yeah, there's lots of good people trying to do good things, for sure.
Yes, that's right. We do need them all to come out of their ivory towers and get in touch with the real world. But in the meantime, it is recognized amongst also the indigenous peoples and the people here that the UN did set a benchmark, an ethical, moral, you know, benchmark for the standards of proper rightness, correctness for human rights generally, the rights of all peoples, and also the rights of the indigenous peoples. And so, what was I was just wanting, now I'm forgetting my whole train, but it's just that we have these, even an articulation of these, an agreement and signed by all the countries of the world, and we've made it clear what is needed for human beings to live with life, liberty, and security, and happiness and fulfillment. And I think that that's a beautiful, you know, that's a beautiful foundation to draw upon as we make this shift, is that even in that system they've acknowledged so much of the rights and freedoms that define the purpose of a human society.
Sure.
And we can go forward from that into our beautiful, brilliant future.
Awesome. Fantastic. All right. Thanks again. Let's wrap up.
Sorry, I think
Au revoir.
I lost my plot. I lost my
All good.
plot with why I was wanting so keen to talk about that, but that's all good. We did it.